Ahoy, ladies and gents, how you doing? Hang on, let's bring my mic a bit closer. How's everyone doing? Welcome to the BBC Spews Live. What's the date? It's the 20th of December, almost Christmas. Let's have a quick look who's in. Samuel L. Saxon's in, he's always in. Mike Joyce is in, Jeff Wedden, Craig Arbeiter, Kirky Bally, Tic Tac, Ben Jones, Patriotic Brit, Matty Nung Wankbo's still in. Mark Thompson, Jeff Wedden, Angel of Light, Davey Boy the Codhead, Jack Ollie, Ginger Mongoose, Ben Jones, Craig Arbeiter's in, all right. Anybody else I'm missing? No, I wasn't doing my hair. It only needs to do once every 3 months now. I'm getting on a bit. I don't have the same lustrous locks that I used to. There's loads of good news, though, since I didn't do one yesterday. Has anybody seen this about the California Reparations Task Force trying to figure out exactly what is owed? I love the wording there. Dives into what is owed, like as if there's no debate on the matter. It's just what's owed. It's what's owed. It's like you have personally pilfered the pockets of your black neighbours. The whole thing makes no fucking sense. What's this shit? Enable accessibility. No, I'm not disabled. Is that what it is? I don't know. There's a little green man on my fucking screen now for some reason. So this story's funny because it's completely ridiculous and it's going to be the most disturbing illiberal quagmire you could possibly imagine. I mean, of course it is. Of course it is. It doesn't make sense on the face of it. Human beings don't live very long. We're a very short-lived species, really. People sort of think because we can make it to the age of 80, you know, with the help of a colostomy bag and an electric wheelchair, people seem to think we last a lot longer than we actually do. But we're only sexually active. I mean, fucking hell, I'm pretty much done now because I'm in my 40s. But basically, most people had children for all of human history between the age of about 14 and about 34. Sort of like a 20-year window, really. We don't live very long. So if you want to start looking into historical crimes, it's a very, very, very murky piece of water you're going to have to throw yourself into. For obvious reasons, right? It's what I've always said to you. Something that makes me laugh, what amuses me and makes me chuckle in the United States, amuses me and also disturbs me. It's people's weird habits for going on and on and on about the family. I do understand that in the United States, it's more common because it's a new country and people like to feel a connection to their ancestors and where they came from originally. But like most denizens of the United Kingdom, ethnically British denizens of the United Kingdom, it's of no interest to me. Again, I'm not singling out the Americans here because it is the same for relatively new Brits, isn't it? You obviously get like people who moved to the UK in the last century. I mean, and not before, because we only got mass migration in this country. Sorry, in the United Kingdom. Really, in the 1950s. It's a soft spot because the communists don't like to talk about factually accurate history for that reason, because it undermines their arguments. But I've checked the census data. I wrote a lengthy piece about this on Quora, and I've checked the census data about it. And the United Kingdom was ethnically homogenous in 1945. You might have seen the fictional Gary Oldman, Winston Churchill one, where he randomly has a little a rap-off with a black man on the underground, right? But that didn't happen. The ethnic, the what you'd call BAME nowadays, population of the United Kingdom in 1945 was less than 0.2% of the country. 99.8% of the United Kingdom was ethnically homogenous in 1945. And that's just a bona fide fact. And woke twats can point at Bridgerton and go, look, there was an Indian in court. There wasn't. One in every 10,000 people was BAME in 1945. Look it up. You know, the staggering thing about this is it was even almost, it was 99% ethnically homogenous in 1970. If you go back, what's happened to those of us that are old enough to remember what the 1980s looked like? It's quite staggering. I've said this before. If you want to prove a wokeist liar, because that's all they are, liars, propagandists, communists, activists, they're just liars. If you want to prove them wrong, just ask your dad for his school photograph and take that to the pub and say, hey, that. Because you know what it's going to look like. It isn't going to look like the Fresh Prince of fucking Bel-Air or the Cosby Show. It's going to look like a load of pasty, blue-eyed twats like me. And that's just a bona fide fact, right? So even in the United Kingdom, it wouldn't really be feasible because we live such short lives. So, like I said, if your grandparents came over in the 40s, you haven't been a victim of anything, really. You could possibly argue that maybe your granddad was, but it's not your dad, it's not your mum, it's not you. Who are you going to be taking money off for a crime that you never went through? But what I'm leading to is this. It's ridiculous in somewhere like England, which has been ethnically homogenous as late as 1940. In somewhere like the United States, which did have a flourishing slave trade and does have a vibrant ethnic, diverse background, it's a minefield that's almost impossible to navigate. As I said, because we don't live very long. If you're going back to the 18s, like these lunatics are, we are all mixed in. You're going to get people, I mean, I'll put it in the most simplistic way. You're going to get people who moved to the United States relatively recently, i.e., these enormous migration patterns that occurred in the United States in the 20th century. So when Ireland had the potato famine and post-Second World War, 20th century shit, early 1900s, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, massive swathes of European people moved to the United States. Italians, Irish, Polish, loads and loads of people, right, who've only, as far as American race relations are concerned, only rocked up very, very recently. So how are you going to figure out how you get people, white people, to pay money to black people if so many white people have ancestry that only moved to the United States in the 20th century? It's inherently unfair to normal people. And then you're also going to have people who, because like I said, we don't live very long. You only have to go back. When I was talking about the Americans having this annoying propensity to talk about how, I mean, you really do hear this all the time. Every time I go to the pub, someone says to me, where are you from? And then they follow it with, oh, my great-grandfather came over here on the Mayflower, or my father fought for this country in the American Revolution. And it's like, he didn't though, did he? And do the maths. It's not your great-grandfather. It's not even your great-great-grandfather. If you're telling me that one of your relatives was literally bayoneting redcoats in 1775, you're at least talking about what, your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather? It's not a small period of time. So it's ludicrous. Oh, you only have to go back to your grandparents and you've got 4 of them. So if you go back another generation, then you've got another shitload of grandparents. And if you go back, basically, if you go back 5 generations, it's like the roots of a very old tree. If you go back 5 or 6 generations, you're talking about, I don't even know. How many grandparents have you got? How much, what's your progeny like if you go back 5 generations? You'd be talking about fucking 60 people or something. So if once you go back a century or 2, it's fucking impossible because everybody's related to everybody. I'm sure if I go back far enough, somebody's going to be Irish, Scottish, Welsh, French, German, everything. So when you start saying, oh yeah, well, the Scandies should be giving us reparations because they went to Linda's farm and started twatting all them poor bastards and raping, pillaging and running amok, you can't figure it out, can you? Because I'm going to have Danish ancestry, and may my tongue turn black for saying it, there's going to be a fucking Geordie in there somewhere. May my tongue shrivel and fall out my mouth like a raisin for saying it. There's a bit of Geordie in there as well. I mean, I'd rather be an Afghan. I'd rather be an Afghan than a Geordie. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Geordies. I'm kidding. But you know what I'm saying? The whole thing is, on the face of it, ludicrous. So I'll just read you it and let's have a laugh, because it's fucking absurd. It's completely ridiculous. It says, after more than a year delving into history and studies to make its case for reparations to California descendants of enslaved blacks, a first-in-the-nation task force began deliberations Wednesday to quantify how financial compensation might be calculated. Conversations for how to determine payments are in the early stages, with task force members acknowledging they have more questions than answers. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's going well then. It's going well if they acknowledge it. Sorry, I need a drink. I did like 250 flights of stairs in the gym today. Cardio, killed it. But now my throat, my voice is a bit gravelly. I think I'm dehydrated. It's normally boozing that dehydrates me, but yeah, I didn't really have time to chug a few pints of water when I get in. Anyway, so they've been hired by the task force, these economists, seeking guidance in 5 harms experienced by black people: government taking of property, devaluation of black-owned businesses, housing discrimination and homelessness, mass incarceration and over-policing. Mass incarceration and over-policing and health. On the face of it, they're completely absurd as well, because nobody gets incarcerated for not breaking the law, right? This mass incarceration they keep talking about is always in relation to drugs and crime. And they're like, oh, yeah, and we're overrepresented in the crime statistics. Well, yeah, but you do keep breaking the law, right? That's a black and white. The law's black and white, isn't it? Nobody in the history of America has ever said, you're going to prison, black man. And they've said, why? And they've said, fuck it, just are. There's always a law being broke. And when you're talking about drug issues, it's very black and white. You're either selling controlled substances or dealing controlled substances or taking controlled substances. There's no simplistic way to... You can't make up a drugs charge unless you're going to go into like full-blown conspiracy theories. And, that there was a black office worker minding his own business, and then a bent copper, Harvey Keitel, pulls up with 2 bags of coke and puts him in his briefcase. Legion Rider, I don't think anybody watches on Twitch. No, Twitch is like a backup for when Susan grabs me by the plums, gives him a little twist, and bans me off YouTube for 2 weeks. It happens quite regularly. She's got calloused hands from yanking my nutsack. So that's what Twitch is for. That's my emergency backup. So basically, total bollocks. And even health, right? I think, yeah, I'm trying not to use any racial slurs. Basically, it's hard to if you're not directing them at people, it shouldn't be a broad brush thing that if you say one word, you get instantly banned off YouTube. But what I'm getting at is, do you remember when John Lennon wrote a song called "Women Are the N-Bomb of the World"? Well, a lot of Irish people used to say that about themselves, didn't you? Say we were the N-Bomb of Europe or what have you, because everybody has been fucked over by the state at some point, every ethnic group. And health, I feel as if Northerners can weigh in on that type of thing, right? Because the statistics for the United Kingdom are truly shocking. And if you know the history of the UK, it's actually quite fascinating, because it's what George R. Martin based Game of Thrones off, isn't it? Aegon the Conqueror is essentially William the Conqueror. Because after William the Conqueror came over, twatted Harold won it, 1066. When William the Conqueror took over, he was widely accepted down south because a lot of the Southerners were related to the French nobility and the like. So apparently William the Conqueror was widely accepted down south, but roundly despised by the Northerners. The Northerners were like, fuck him, he ain't an Englishman. He's a froggy bastard. So William the Conqueror kept going north and twatting the Northerners because they wouldn't have him. They just weren't accepting the bloke. And they called it the harrowing of the North, right? Because they fucking killed so many Northerners and salted all the fields and absolutely twatted everybody. I know all of this from listening to David Starkey talking about it, basically. He was saying how they would even salt all the fields just on the merest hint that they might get invaded from the Northmen. So basically, they killed fucking shitloads of people. And as a result of that, apparently, to this day, the reason the North is so financially, so impoverished compared to the South is because the Northerners got fucked 1,000 years ago, and it's carried on ever since. So when you're talking about health, there's even a massive... He was actually known as William the Bastard. Aye. Up north he was, right? William Bastard. And basically, if you look at the numbers to this day, people from my neck of the woods, Middlesbrough, the life expectancy is like 5 years less than the fucking rest of the country. And that's a known fact. I believe if you go to the home counties, people's life expectancy is 5 or 6 years longer than that of your average Geordie. And I think it's a bit unfair for me to say that, because, in Borough, it's quite a common idiom, like I'm sweating like a Geordie in a maths exam, right? Joking aside, it's unfair to have a pot with Geordies and Northerners entirely about these things, because some of it is down to historical reasons. But the point is, it's only some of it. Yeah, now I'm going to stop moaning like a northern monkey. But what I'm getting at is, I'm coming around to your way of thinking, you southern shandy drinking twats. I'm going to get there eventually. What I'm saying is, even though historically the Northerners got fucked by William Bastard, right? It's still the fault of the Northerners if they insist on living off Chicago town pizzas and special brew, right? Because, yeah, you can be slightly hamstrung, but there's still choice there, right? I'm from probably the most famously impoverished town in the north, and I thought, fuck this, I'm not staying here. I'd rather go to Afghanistan. I'm going to join the military. And that's a very easy way under our military-industrial complex type society of getting away from it. You can do that. You can move away. You can say to yourself, you know what? Even though it's going to be slightly harder for me to get a foot on the ladder, by God, I'm doing it. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go for a run, and I'm not going to sit on my fat ass eating Chicago town pizzas and saying things like, you can't give baby booze, right? That's all it is. Yes, it's an issue. Yes, there's a little bit of unfairness, but the biggest driver of change is you. The biggest driver of your health is you. It's always the left's purview where they try and blame the state for everything. Oh, you're not fit enough. The government needs to do something about it. Oh, you eat too many fucking Chicago town pizzas. Oh, well, the government needs to do something about that. You live off a fucking diet of doner kebabs and Super King's fags, and you class scratching scratch cards as working because you're a typical northern twat. Well, the government needs to fix that. The government doesn't need to fix it. If you're from Middlesbrough and you're one of those people that I hate seeing when I walk around my hometown, like I said, eating tea and toast on a fucking deck chair in the middle of the street. I don't know why they do it. That's what they do out here as well. If you go in like a rough black area in the United States, like Baltimore or Chicago or any of that, you always notice that for some reason they're always in the street. And I'm guessing it's because when your life's shit and the house you live in is an absolute fucking dive, you prefer to sit outside, right? Because at least instead of looking at the mouldy wallpaper, you can look at the nice blue sky. But the point is, it happens in Borough. Like, you really do. If you go for a fucking run ashore in Middlesbrough, that's what you see. You go down some of them back streets where they all live in the terraced houses, and every single one of them is a council flat, and 50% of them are full-blown, can't speak a word of the Queen's, shitting in the garden, roasting a fucking goat in the fire pit, even though there's a gas fire paid for inside the house, walking around looking like a letterbox. Half the town is that, and the other half of the town, which is, again, why the Bootneck isn't prejudiced by race, because half of my hometown is fucked because of the locals, my people, right? The ones who from cradle to grave never do a day's work in their life because they need money for baby. These people fucking disgust me. But it's really their fault, isn't it? You can't blame the government because you started off slightly behind it. It's almost like a foot race. Like if you're going to do the 100-metre egg and spoon race and you're from the home counties, you start on the start line. If you're from Borough, you start 20 fucking metres behind them. But it doesn't mean you completely wrap your tits in and just lie down, because that's what people do. If I started 20, who's a southern twat in here? Band again, he's always having a drip about me being a northerner. Band again, he's some southern shandy drinker, right? If he started on the start line in the egg and spoon race and I was 20 yards behind him, I would dig out fucking blind to catch him. And by the time we got to the finish line, first of all, if I got even within an inch of him, I'd trip the cunt up because, I'm happy to cheat. You got to do what it takes to win. I'd trip the cunt up if I got him within a yard of him. And if I didn't manage to catch him, I'd at least almost catch him. What you don't do is go, I'm getting cheated, so I'm going to just wrap my tits in. I'm just going to, fuck it. He's 20 yards in front of me. I'm going to eat the egg, shove the spoon up my ass, and then just start pulling myself off on the fucking grass. That's essentially what I'm talking about. So, yeah, people have a harder time in life. And is it perfect? No. But coming from an impoverished town, single parent, my mum died of cancer when I was a little kid. My dad was a steel worker. I'm from Middlesbrough. It's not like I'm Laurie Penny or Owen Jones or any of these middle-class arseholes. I'm telling you, I understand it's more difficult for poorer people. But still, the real power is in your back and your biceps and your brain. 3 Bs, back, biceps, brain. If you work all 3 of them regularly, you can level that playing field and you can take more pride in doing so because you started off 20 yards behind some soft, wealthy, middle-class arsehole. But the problem is, people give up. Middlesbrough is full of people who give up. And they give up because left-wing wankers motivate them to give up. Ultimately, I've always made this point. The left, the woke, the communists, I'm not going to call them the left anymore because I know normal left-wing people. In the Northeast, I know people who voted Labour all their life. And those people are now saying, what the fuck's gone on? What's happened to modern politics? These gender-bending, crazy wokists have got nothing to do with me. Old school Labour are not communist wokists like what we've got now. So I'm going to stop calling them left. I'm just going to say woke, commie, fucking ratbags, right? What the woke, commie, ratbags do is they call people like you, dear listener, and people like me, evil. They don't have a philosophical disagreement with you. They think you're a bad person. And this is the point I keep making. I was having out yesterday. I was arguing with a mate of mine yesterday. Basically, they think you're a bad person. And what you have to do when you're discussing it and debating it with them is point out that it's not even about that. Because I think you're a bad person. If you're just going to go by, if you create outcomes for people that make their lives worse, I think you're a bad person. Because all of those deck chair, tea and toast, money foot baby, scratch cards counts as working fuckers that infest the streets of Middlesbrough, they're trapped in that cycle of poverty because the left enable it. Thomas Sowell's talked about it loads of times. That he said in the 60s, the black community was doing all right because they all had a mum and dad in the house. They all went to work and they all had motivation. to better themselves. When the state tells you, just get fucked off sailors, have a load of kids, and we'll make sure you've always got money in your ass pocket, you are condemning them to a life of misery. Those people who live short, unpleasant, miserable lives in council estates up and down the UK and in these black communities in the United States, it's exactly the same thing. This is why I'm ranting about it. It's exactly the same thing because the colour's different, but the mindset is identical. It's identical. Impoverished northerners who go from cradle to grave without ever working are identical to black people in the United States. They were doing all right in the old days when they had a mum and a dad in the house and they went to work. And when it all went tits up was the expansion of the welfare state, when they said, we're going to fucking motivate you to sit on your fat ass and get pissed and be a fat fucking loser and blame all your problems on the state. And it's, I'm not getting enough benefits. I'm not getting enough money for baby. That's what they're all like. Anybody who's ever walked through a fucking council estate knows this to be true. It's self-evidently true. Whereas I think when I'm telling you, go and do some work, you fat chavvy bastard, I'm doing you a favour. I always talk about old adages all the time, don't I? You know this, because I love an old adage, because they're always right. They're always right. Real life is a meritocracy. Old adages make sense because they're always right. If they weren't right, it wouldn't become an old adage. Someone would say something fucking stupid like a rolling stone definitely gathers shitloads of moss, and everyone would go, silly bastard, and no one would say it again. A bird in the hand isn't worth two in the fucking bush. That makes loads of sense. The reason people say them is because they are logical, right? And that's an old adage. You've got to be cruel to be kind. I've told you that one of the most popular ones that I ever remember was the Fat Geordie kid. Do you remember the Fat Geordie schoolboy? Can anyone find me a link about that? I'm sure if I just type in Fat Geordie schoolboy, nothing will come up. Let me try for a laugh. Fat Geordie schoolboy. Toby the Fat Geordie schoolboy. Basically, I'll just have to, as I normally do a bit of a riff. So essentially, about 20 years ago, I seriously think I was about 20. I seen a story about this Fat Geordie kid who was about 10 and he was like 15 clem, right? He was this little Fat Geordie kid and the state stepped in and said, here, your son is 10-year-old and he's got a fucking ass like the back end of a double-decker bus, right? You've got more chins than the Chinese phone book. It's all your fault. And in my opinion, rightly said, if you don't slim that kid down, we'll give you 3 months. And if that little roly-poly butterball doesn't sort his fucking life out, we're taking him off you. Because a parent is in charge 100% of everything a child eats, puts in their gaping fucking maw, right? So this was headline news. And they discussed it all over the BBC for ages because essentially the discussion was, is it right and is it acceptable for the government to take a child away from the parents if the child is simply being killed with kindness? And the general public seemed to agree with me and said, yeah, but a child's too young to know what they should be eating. And if the kid's health is severely suffering as a result of the mother being unable to say no, then it is right to take the child off the parents. So that's another old adage, and that's what I'm talking about. You have to be cruel to be kind. You really do. Nobody wants to be nasty to the son, to the other daughter. Despite the Bootneck's aggressive facade, I'm a people person, I'm a nice bloke, and I would not like to tell a cute little 4-year-old girl, no. If I had a cute as a button little daughter and she's tugging on me fucking drawers while I'm watching telly or playing on the computer or whatever. I'm like, what do you want? And she's like, give me a fucking another Kit Kat. You don't want to tell the little cute girl, no, you've had too many. You make yourself tell them that they've had too many and they can't have one because you might upset them in the short term, but you know it's good for them in the long run. And that is why people like me and conservatives and libertarians in general advocate a small state. It's not because we're not nice people. It's because we have a different view for what makes nice. I mean, how often do they call the conservatives the nasty party? These fucking idiots. The nasty party. No. To be a conservative is to be nice because you have the stiff upper lip and the intestinal fortitude to deal with the discomfort of making hard decisions, of disciplining a child you don't want to discipline, of saying no to a kid who you love and you want to reward and make feel good. But you make yourself do the opposite because it's good for them in the long run. That is what the state has to do. And that is what the government has to do. That's what politicians have to do. And that's what neighbours and friends have to do. It's cruel. You've got to be cruel to be kind. If your mate is on the dole and he just gets pissed 7 days a week, if you're a good friend, you need to sit down with him and say, hey, mate, you need to sort your life out, fella. You need to sort your life out. You're doing nothing. It might feel good to just wrap your tits in, but you need to sort your shit out. So I completely reject this nonsense idea that they're the nasty party and we are the nasty people and they're the nice ones. No, they're the weak ones. It's easy to sit and do nothing. It takes balls to force yourself to be cruel, to be kind. And that is the entirety of what's wrong with their ideology. They just think being nice is enough. You see it all the time with these fucking teachers. Just be nice. Oh, just be kind. Just be kind. What's that going to achieve? What's it going to achieve? Just be kind to Ted Bundy and Harold Shipman and Ian Huntley and fucking Kim Jong. Just be kind. Yes, and then they'll stake you to the floor and fuck you till your head falls off. You silly fucking bint. Being kind isn't enough. You've got to be tough. You've got to be strong. You've got to be stoic. Being kind, that has started out. It won't do shit. And that's what the Guardian readers do. Be kind. Give them free money. Just be kind. Yeah, well, 2 years of you giving them fucking free money. In fact, how long's it been? 30 years? 40 years? How long have we had the welfare state now? Where we're all just being kind. And people like me and you that can handle carrying bricks in the fucking rain on a building site. We go and do that day in, day out for years and years and years. And we keep throwing money at the dregs of society because we want to be kind. And they're still fat, depressed, scruffy, smelly, scratching the scratch cards, smoking the Super Kings, ugly, fat, butterball child with fucking 6-figure blood pressure. Nothing good comes from being kind. Fuck being kind. Do some work, you lazy little shit. That's what you tell them. They think about it on a basic level. Got to be cruel because if your kid's fat, you need to go into his bedroom and say, listen, fatty, if you don't get yourself around the block twice a day, you're not getting fucking fed. That's how you fix it. That's how you fix it. You don't go, be kind, have another donut. That doesn't do anything. So fuck being kind. Imagine, I'll have to do, if I run for office, that can be my political slogan. Fuck kindness. Fuck kindness. Kindness is what's fucked up the entire world. The kinder you are, the fatter they get. So you're not doing them a favour, are you? Be kind. Give them diabetes. That's not kind. Be kind. Cause their heart to explode. Be kind. Make them have a fucking stroke when they're 35 and then fuck up the way they talk and they've got to roll around like Stephen Hawking all fucking year. You're not being kind. You're being a cunt because you're too weak. Jack, I'm hoping Jack is Jacqueline or Jackie because seriously, I know this is going to sound a bit sexist, but a lot of it is women. I'm not even slagging yous off, right? So I'm not being sexist. I'm not. Basically, because men and women are different, women are just nice. They are nicer. And that's why I'm a big believer in, yin and yang, balance in all things. That's why I'll run up 250 flights of stairs and do 50 pull-ups and then drink 15 pints of strong lager and have a kebab, right? I'm a big believer in balance, right? And women bring out the best in men because we're rash, they aren't. We take too many risks, they take too few. But ladies are too nice. Women are a lot more emotional and a lot more sentimental. And I disagree with Mr. Maximum in the chat there. I'm not saying women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Women curb the worst excesses of men, but they are too nice. They're too sentimental and they're too emotional. Being kind has fucked up the entire world. We need to be less kind and more motivational. Less carrot and more fucking stick. I firmly believe it. Anyway, that was like a 20-minute rant that I didn't intend to go into, but what I'm getting at is health. Do not tell me it's the government's fault that your health is bad. People who say they can't afford to wait. In fact, fuck it, I've got a story about this. Someone sent me this yesterday. Here we are, let me find this. Here we are. Found it. Right, this perfect segue because my mate Snell's sister sent me this yesterday. The health, just to sum up this, it's all total bollocks. Bollocks, 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 bollocks. Right, done. Don't need to talk about that shit anymore. If you want to get the full story, go watch the Lotus Eaters. But essentially, it's all bollocks. Apply the law equally. Don't tell me that it's the government's fault that black people don't take care of their health. Right, done. That's all I'm going to do. Because this is a perfect segue to talking about health. Look at this. Fuck me, look at this. So this is health, yeah? Look at the fucking clip of that. Look at the clip of that. Honestly. It's a fucking thumb with a face drawn on it, isn't it? It's like it's just a thumb. If I put some glasses on me fucking thumb, that's that. That's that creature, right? So there we are, the thumb face. Roll up, the thumb-faced woman. Right, there she is. Apparently, she's surviving off children's leftovers. How the fuck have you got a head like a recycling bin if you're surviving off children's leftovers? Her head weighs 8 stone. Just an absolute cowhead, right? And she's claiming she's surviving off children's leftovers. It's ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. On the face of it, on the gigantic face of it, on the enormous, fat, sweaty face of it, it's ludicrous, right? That is not surviving off leftovers. If she was surviving off leftovers, she'd have less meat on her than a chicken McNugget, and she doesn't. She's fucking gigantic, right? So Victoria Walker from Bath. Oh, she's posh. I'll tell you, if you're in Bath, but even if you're on a council estate, you're fucking posh. She's probably snorting caviar like that. I can't feed the kids. Says a single mum of 4 who has been skipping meals and living off her children's leftovers says she won't be able to afford Christmas this year. Look at the fucking size of her. She's struggling to feed herself. Yes, Victoria, because you think you need 200,000 calories a day, you fat cunt. Right? Apparently, she said her 11-year-old daughter has even offered her own pocket money to cover food essentials like bread and milk. It just makes me sad. It breaks my heart. It just makes me sad. It just makes you sad. Well, it doesn't make you fucking hungry, does it? Doesn't make you hungry. She would... I don't know how someone that looks like that has the brass neck to talk to the press and say, I'm fucking hungry. Innit? Like, can I give myself that many chins? I'm fucking starving. I'm starving. You're not starving, fatty. You've got fingers like sausage rolls and you eat 20 of them a day. Don't tell me with a straight face that you're starving to death, you cheeky, geggy twat. It fucking does my head in. I've told you as well, another reason these people irritate me is because Inside me, there is a morbidly obese man desperately trying to get out. The reason I do as much exercise I do is because I love troughing. I love pizzas. I love kebabs. I love carrot cake. I love ice cream. I love getting pissed. And now I'm in my 40s. I only need to look at the 6-pack of lager and me fucking ass jiggles for a week. Like, there is nothing good about being in your 40s. So whoever, there's another one. Anyone who ever told you life begins at 40 is a lying bastard. It's all shit after 40. Because as someone who's been a binge drinker for 25 years, now I'm starting to get fat and it's annoying. I go on the piss and then I have to eat nothing for a week, or else I can't get into my jeans and my nipples start to fucking jiggle, right? It's shit. So these annoy me because I haven't been blessed with a good metabolism. I have to force myself to deny myself all the time and go to the gym 6 days a week just so I don't have to buy new jeans. But these fat cunts do now but drip as if, like, when I put cake in my mouth, it tastes like soap. Like, oh, no, fatty. I want to be fat. I would love to camp outside Greg's like Victoria. I would love it. I'd love to exist off steak bakes and special brew like Victoria does. But I don't, because it's self-control. It's not the government's fault. Unless Tony Blair is breaking into your house in the middle of the night while you're asleep and fucking liquidizing like cakes and then put them in like a little tube and like smuggling it down your throat without you knowing about it. You know, have you ever woke up with a dead sore throat? Like, it's because Tony Blair was coming in your house and secretly putting a tube down your mouth, and he was putting you on a mayonnaise drip, you fat cunt. Unless that was happening, it's your fault. It's not the government's fault. It's not the government's fault you've got an ass like an elephant. It's not the government's fault that you say you're surviving off children's leftovers, even though I don't believe you. It's your fault. Do some work. Anyway, I'll read the story instead of just ranting. The family have been receiving support from Action for Children, so they're not going hungry. Why is she vulnerable? It's important for us to open our eyes to the problems that are happening on our doorstep. Oh, they're wide open, love. They're wide open. My eyes are wide open. I can see clearly now the rain has gone, and I don't want to feed you or your ugly, fucked up kids. This is why it irritates me so much. You know what? You should be able to just opt out of income tax. You should be able to write a letter to the government and say, "Dear government, I am comfortable. I sleep like a baby knowing that I'm not giving any money to fat chavs. I don't want to give any foreign aid. I don't care how many photos you show me of little starving Ethiopian kids with flies all over the face. I don't give a fuck. I don't want to send them any money. I don't want to feed Victoria or her ugly fucked up kids. I don't care. Therefore, I am opting out of paying taxes." Because essentially, this is why I agree with the libertarians in America. The reason they're stealing your money off you is because they know that no way would any British taxpayer choose to feed and house and clothe 95% of the people that we do. All the dinghy divers rocking up, filling up the fucking back of wagons and sneaking into Britain and getting put up in hotels. If it was down to people, not one of us would opt in, would we? If it was voluntary, if the government sent you a letter and said, "Please give us £200 to house and feed these 12 Syrian blokes this year," 99% of people would say, "Fuck off." So they steal your money off you and just give them it anyway. This is what I'm saying. That's why I'm that close to giving up. I'm that close. I'm so angry with it. Like, and I've talked about this with Sadwings before because he's old enough to just wrap his tits in. I'm that close to giving up. Like, if I really, really tried, because I've obviously worked my entire life since I left high school. If I really, really, really tried, I reckon I could survive for fucking 20 years on what I've got. I've got like pensions, 401k, everything I've got saved up, everything. If I really, really, really tried, I reckon I could survive for fucking 20 years. And I'm that close to just doing it. If I wasn't married and I didn't have, see, I'm going back to why I think women are so important for our society. If I was single, all my worst habits had come to the fore and I'd fucking give up. I'd buy a tent. I'd liquidate all of my assets, buy a tent and do nothing. all day, every day. I'd be like, just because I know I'm not giving money to suicide bombers, right? I'd feel moral. It's got to the point where I feel immoral for paying taxes. This is what I'm talking about. And this is why every time the commies take over, the economy goes to shit, because they have to tax you and tax you and tax you and tax you. And then they have to lock you in the gulag and make you work for free, because that's what always happens. But it's getting to the point now where I'm honestly feeling like if I was single, I'd give up. I'd liquidate all my assets, go and live in a fucking bush, and just watch the world burn. I'd be like, every night I'd go to sleep with a fatty on. I'd be tent pegging my sleeping bag, my dirty, unkempt sleeping bag. I'd be tent pegging it every night, all night long like that. Big fatty on, just because I know I'm not paying fucking income tax to buy Diane Abbott's Twixes, some fucking Syrian's suicide vest, all the shopkeepers sticking it in a money belt and taking it back to Pakistan. Basically, I've had enough. And this is where we're getting to the point. It's going to keep getting slightly worse until more and more people give up. And it needs to change. People have had enough. And this is just at least this creature, Madame Thumbface, right? At least this creature was born and raised in Britain. As annoyed as you can be with these people because they're a drain on your resources. They're oxygen thieves. They give nothing to the country. They contribute nothing. And they take everything, right? So, I mean, it makes sense to hate them. But at least this creature was A, born and raised in Blighty, and B, probably has parents and grandparents that paid their income taxes. At least that. And C, it's partially our fault, because we voted for Labour governments, for SNP, for Green, Plaid Cymru, for lefty arseholes that have indoctrinated these people to make them think being fat and depressed and lazy is good. That as long as you're not getting out of bed and going to do a job that you don't really want to do, you're winning. As long as you're not doing that, you're winning. So we are to blame. The dregs of society, at least this fucking thumb-faced, 20-chinned, blubbery, put your belt on with a boomerang, marshmallow form comes out when it cuts its legs shaving, fucking blood type Heinz, right? At least this creature was born and raised in Blighty. You're paying more than that to put fighting age men in hotels, and they come from fucking Egypt. So maybe I should leave her alone. I just thought that was going to be funny. Anyway, I'm starting to get a sore throat. I've been yakking for nearly an hour. The point I'm getting at is that, right? This whole story, back to the original one. Where is it? There we are. This whole story, it all stems from the same thing. Convincing people that the state is going to fix all the problems is what's caused all this mess. We need to get back to basics. We need to have an actually conservative government. An actually conservative government would be not the Conservative Party. Reform, anyone, vote for any alternative. You're going to have to put up with 4 years of full-blown communism before you're going to get there. But we need to go back to basics. We need to say, you're not getting fucking money for free. Sorry, buy your own turkey Twizzlers and your own Super Kings and your own scratch cards, you fat chav. Go and do some work. If you're here illegally, get the fuck out. Instant deportation. And basically, if you want to eat, you have to work. Simple. Not racist or prejudiced, because you can aggressively enforce it on people like fucking thumbface McDog shit there. It's a broad brush. White chavs, black chavs, foreign chavs. If you don't work, you don't fucking eat. If you're born and raised here, you just get no money. If you weren't born and raised here, you get fucking deported. Easy. And nobody can call it a bigoted proposition. Because like I said, we can start with the chavs. We can start with Middlesbrough. We can build a fucking brick wall around Middlesbrough and say, right, you're not getting fed. We're not going to, if you all start going to work, right, if you clock in, we'll get an Amazon drone to deliver you a fucking crate full of baked beans. But if you don't clock in, you're not eating. Do that for a couple of months. It'll be a glorious success. That can be the pilot program in Middlesbrough. And when it gloriously succeeds and everybody's going to work and everybody's losing weight and everybody's getting the diabetes has vanished and all the fat chavs have started wearing suits and NHS spectacles and going to work in cubicles, they'll go, fucking hell, that's a good one. And then you debate and then you throw out all of the illegals and all the other lazy bastards. Easy. Yeah, I live here. I live here. So again, they're taking, this is what I mean. They're taking it out of my arse pocket. I pay taxes in California. I'm feeding these fucking dirtbags. And it's what I mean. That's why they have to steal your money off you. Taxation is theft. Because if they politely asked me, they wouldn't get paid. I feel so strongly about it, I'll do anything possible to not pay. I've told you this before. I really did take a bottle of pasta sauce back, a jar of pasta sauce back when I was in Morrison's. It's when I was living in York. Because I went up to the counter, and as I go to buy this fucking thing, the woman went, it's fair trade, that. £1 from every bottle goes to Comic Relief. And I went, hang on, I'll change it. And she was like, you what, are you serious? And I went, yeah, fucking am. And I went and put it back, and I got another one. I said, there you go, that'll do. I'm so aggressive about it now that if I go to buy a chocolate bar and it's £1, and I notice it says on the side, for every bar we sell, we send 20 pence to Africa, I'll put the fucker back and I'll pay £1.10 for a different one that says, fuck you, we keep all the money. I'd rather spend more money. I'll put 10 pence extra in to not give money to fucking Africa, because at least I can then choose what I'm spending my own money on. They tax it 9 times. I finally get my hands on it. And then they want me to send money to Africa. I'm already giving money to Africa. I'm already giving money to fat chavs. I'm already giving Al-Qaeda money via the government. I've already paid for Nigerian Spice Girls. Fuck you if you think I'm buying fair trade. No, I want sweatshop chocolate bars. I want to buy a product that says, did you know, for every pair of fucking headphones we sell, 8 Nigerian boys fucking toil away in a cobalt mine. I'll buy them. Fair trade, fuck fair trade. I want the exact opposite. I want unfair trade. Maybe that's a business idea. I'll start a Kickstarter. Unfair trade. We guarantee that no tree-hugging, yurt-living, mushy peas, fucking yoga twat is going to get a single penny from any of the shit we sell. That's my premise. If I'm opening a business, fuck fair trade. Look at this. You're in America. Stop spout British. First of all, speak English. It's very rare that someone from Middlesbrough gets the chance to say to someone, fuck me, speak English. But seriously, speak English. Secondly, if you're trying to say what I think you're trying to say, which is stop spouting off about Britain, I was fucking born there, son. I was born, raised, and worked there until I was 35 years old. I can spout about British. Thanks very much. You balmy cunts think if someone rocks up in the back of a tomato wagon a year later, they're as British as you or me. Oh, they're as British as... Oh, and they can use the NHS. I can live and work in fucking Blighty for 35 years. Then if I go home, trip over, pissed, and have to go and get a cast put on my leg, the lefties go, fucking hell, look at him, using our NHS. Oh my God, it doesn't even live here anymore. He's using our NHS, fucking hell. I paid into it for 30 years, you cunts. I'll use it. Thanks very much. If some Iraqi who's only been there 6 weeks is using the fucking thing, I think I'm entitled to have a pop. And I was born and raised there, so I'll spout British all I like. Thanks. I've probably paid more income taxes in bastard Blighty than you have, Mike. Where the fuck do you work? Christ almighty. Anyway, I'm done. Right, I'm done. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be my last live stream until Christmas Day because I'm off to see the mother-in-law. So what? I guess I'll be back Saturday, Sunday. It's going to be Monday, isn't it? I guess I'll be back. Shut up. This is my watch. Yeah, I guess it'll be Monday. Right. I'll see you all on Monday for another live stream. Until then, have a good week. Have a good week. Have a good weekend. Merry fucking Christmas and a Happy New Year. I'll make a pre-made video if I can be bothered before I go. And other than that, I'll see you all for a live stream on Monday. Merry Christmas. See you all soon. All right. Cheers. Take it easy.